Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World Warships. In our Friday edition video, I'm going to be featuring the Tier VII British Battleship, the Rooke, today. I know the previous poll I did, we did do the winner of that poll, and Rooke didn't score very high, but I need to go ahead and move on to the next ship, and so meaning I need to move my commander off to the Tier 8 because I'm ready to purchase it. So sometimes I try to do those polls because I definitely do want the winner of that ship to be featured. And other times there's going to be certain weeks I don't do the poll because I just simply need to keep grinding up that ship line. So let's just talk real quick about the strengths, weaknesses, and then I'm going to have a ranked battle and kind of showing you how I walked through that battle with this ship. Starting off, the guns, the 381mm guns, they have a reload time of 31 seconds, and a pretty actually good 180-degree turret traverse time, so that's actually quite nice. And then if we look at the fire starting chance, it's 34%. So not high, but it will go up. This chance will increase as you go up the line, so please keep that in mind. The other thing, besides her guns being decent, but a weakness for sure on the ship, since we're kind of where we were in this port view, is that her bow and stern armor are only 16mm, where something like the King George V, the other Tier 7 British battleship, has 26mm. So your nose and bow is really weak, especially if you're dealing with like 406 or your bottom tier. That's going to be a definite weakness on the ship. So you want to try to entice players more to try to shoot this belt armor scheme, but you can see it's only 26 on the side. So you are a squishy battleship, but there's some differences that make up for the ship, which we'll talk about. One being the torpedoes. So maybe I should just show you the torpedo view this way. You get 4 torpedoes, 2 per each side. They have a reload time of just over 1.5 minutes and an 8-kilometer range. And that's them right here. So they do that kind of squiggly line when they shoot out. So if you're able to utilize the torpedoes in rushing up on a target and using your engine boost, it's a plus 8% on top of your speed. So you can actually get going quite quickly, 32.5 knots, and then plus 8%. So you'd be pushing over, I think 36 knots if I do the math instantaneously correct off my head. So you have the ability to quickly approach targets. You outrun a lot of enemy destroyers. You can chase them down even. You have your repair party, of course, and you also have your defensive A fire consumable. So this is a soft battleship that really you need to pick your fights wisely and getting the most out of the ship. So let's go ahead and go into the ranked battle I have for you today, and kind of breaking down how I decided to make the moves to make the most valuable time of the ship. Alright, so here we are in the ranked match with Rooke. So one of the things I strive for with Rooke is, with this ship, because she's rather squishy, is trying to find and isolate those one-on-one engagements when it's possible, or one-on-two if it has to be. But trying to find these situations where you can utilize her speed and you can utilize the torpedoes. You know, since that being one of the enticing things of World of Warships wargaming, making this ship line that, hey, this is a ship that's kind of meant to brawl and push in, but yet it's actually not at the same time, but it is depending on, of course, the certain circumstances that you find yourself in. So here we are. This was from the previous ranked season, just over a patch ago. So you can see on the enemy team they have the California, they have the Sinup. We definitely have to watch out for his 4.6mm guns because he can punch right through our bow and stern and Citadel S. They have an Atlanta, meaning they have radar, so we want to try to support our Akatsuki and a Mahan if we are able to get rid of that Atlanta. The Weimar, really good Tier 7 German premium cruiser with lots of torpedoes. And they have a Mahan and a Moss. But for our team lineup, you can see we have the Rooke, Nagato, York, Tokachi, Mahan, and Akatsuki. So no radar on our team. So we're going to do what we can. So starting off here, This is how I typically approach a ranked randoms battle. Is I'm looking to see what are the pros and cons of the ships on the enemy team, what are the pros and cons on the ships on my team, to kind of help how to understand and play around them better. So the enemy destroyer, the Moss, has revealed himself on A. So I'm just simply going to move down this island, and if I'm able to get some shots off to him, I will. But if they're able to leave this flank open, then I'm seeing already on the mini-map that the California is moving this way. So that's likely means the Sinop could be with him, but Sinop might be moving off to sea. So I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. So I go ahead and I pop my engine boost, so I can go ahead and push in and close the distance. So you see I already have the HE high explosive loaded, ready for the destroyer. The health pool of the Rook, 59,200, is actually really close to the Tier 7 King George V, which stands at 60,500. So there's not really a difference in health pool there, which is nice. Oh, and here he is. So let's see, we're gonna get the shot off here. And pretty good dispersion, but only one of our shells land. And I'm going ahead and actually just dump some torpedoes in case he ends up just slowing down, staying there. This ship has a 95-second reload time on the torpedoes, so it's not bad. And because he's not really firing or anything and he's been sitting still, I'm counting on that he's probably dumping torpedoes in this gap right before me. But I scroll down, I want to zoom in to my front turret view, and then I'm going to hug the corner of this island really close. And we're actually going to pick up first blood here, which is quite nice. So now I'm going to use my speed and acceleration. That is actually one of the things this line has quite well. If you notice at the very start of the match, is that it has good acceleration. And then, of course, also having an engine boost is quite nice. And then you kind of see that the speed kind of tethers out here. So I'm really looking for this Atlanta. I don't mind actually having the HE here loaded. I mean, AP probably would have been nice, and I go ahead and switch to it. Because it is possible, I believe, with these guns to get HE Citadels on the Atlanta, and being able to do some damage and just a bunch of ogre pins would be nice. So we're going to go ahead and keep pushing along here. So our team has secured the Bravo cap, or sorry, the A cap and the Bravo cap. But we have the enemy Mahan, who's dealing with our friendly Akatsuki at this moment, so we're going to have to see how that battle goes. The Sinop, I see where he's at. We've got an island between him, so then I feel more comfortable to turn out broadside here. I'm still going to keep my guns pointing to the Atlanta in case the Atlanta decides to move forward. Now my engine boost right now is on cooldown, a minute and a half. So it means I can't just speed out onto the California like I would have wanted to, but I used it because to me the destroyer was definitely worth trying to use the engine boost on and see if we can catch him by surprise. So I used the depth charges there to see the AA, so he's more tucked in around the island. So I'm like, fine, I'll go ahead and start rotating the guns because we have this California here who's wanting to disengage and he's going broadside on us. So we're actually going to be able to get a nice salvo in with these 381mm guns. 16,100, secondaries are going. And then I'm going to still be paying attention and keeping my guns off to the left here for the Atlanta in case Atlanta says, hey, he's distracted with California. I'm going to start being cheeky and get some shots off. So as I shared, these torpedoes hit for really good damage. I actually forgot to mention how hard these torpedoes hit when we were looking in port, so I'll go ahead and pull that back up here off my phone. So the maximum damage is 15,866 before you take into account the torpedo belt or the damage that gets reduced. So Atlanta seems to have continued to tuck himself around behind the island. So we're going to keep pushing in. I'm going to keep angled in here to the California. I'm wondering if he's going to try to punch through my nose, but he's a little more focused on the York. So I'm going to go broadside, and I'm going to go ahead and drop these torpedoes because I feel quite confident that he's just wants to shoot the cruiser rather than wanting to shoot me. So I'm going to go for just underneath his rear turret, see if we can't punch through, get more damage. We get over 8. Both torpedoes hit, giving us the kill. And we're going to go ahead and use our damage control party because we can simply go dark and Atlanta is farther away. But the torpedoes, so it means just if both torpedoes hit, you have a maximum possible damage of over 31,000. And these torpedoes continue to hit harder as you go up the line. As my weeb Nelson commander is non-stop chatting in the background. And I can talk more about that commander tomorrow, because you guys are likely to have questions about her. So we talked about torpedoes. You've got 2 on each side. You can see they don't have the best torpedo angles, so that you do have to be mindful of when you decide to use them. So I only showed broadside to that California round. I realized he's really not interested in me, and he'd rather shoot my friendly York. So then I went broadside and I dumped them, because you do have a very squishy battleship, so you really have to keep that in mind and utilize it. The other thing that this ship line has that's really good that I haven't talked about yet is the concealment. So right now I have a 13 kilometer concealment, and I've not built into the concealment expert on my commander yet, which would bring me down to 11.7 kilometers as we lose our Nagato and Mahan. So you have 11.7 kilometers, which is great. So you can really catch cruisers by surprise with this line and being rather cheeky, which honestly is quite nice. So the concealment you definitely want to build into this line. Here I'm waiting to see what this setup is up to. So I went ahead and slowed down, and he shows us broadside, and we get a nice 9,000 hit. There's the Atlanta. So the Atlanta looks like he finally got reversed, turned around, and he's sailing away. And seeing that the setup is he's looking at us. He hits a bit high. We still take over 10,600 damage, but it could have been a lot worse. So now we're going to close in the distance here, utilizing our island. Our York is still pushing in, and he's a bit vulnerable here to the setup, so I want to try to do what I can to support him, rather than just sailing around the island, sailing into potential Atlanta torpedoes, because Atlanta has short kilometer torpedoes. Granted, I don't remember how many at this point. I think it's a rack of 4 per each side, but I could be wrong, for 4.5 kilometers if I'm not mistaken. So this is a potential very vulnerable moment for me going up against the Senate, because the Senate player understands and realizes that if he can overmatch my bow and rip through me and just wreck me to the extent that he could just kill me in one shot through the bow of the ship. So I have AP loaded, so that means I'm going to go ahead and aim high. That I want to hit into his superstructure area, because if I went for the bow or the belt, it just would have all bounced off. So the York kills him with the fire, and now we have Atlanta, who's coming out broadside. So he's broadside, he's still shooting right now, but he could have dumped torpedoes when he came out here and made this move. So I'm switching to my front turret view, and you can do that when you're zoomed in by pressing C. And so we're going to see if we get a good shot here. Yes, we found the Citadel. So we're going to move off to the side. We're going to go ahead and assume he has torpedoes. So I'm going to let my York know, watch for torps. But I think he might have his hydroacoustic search going. But it's likely that Atlanta Pie already used them and dumped them when he thought I might try to chase him up around the island on the 6-7 line. So now we have this Weimar and the enemy team, who's been causing havoc in the Bravo and forcing our Tokachi out. So we're going to push around and try to deal with him. Again, my engine boost, I'm going to be able to get a third one off here. It's about to come off cooldown, and I can go ahead and use it now if I wanted to be able to get around, but I'm still just talking with the friendly York. Other things to mention about this line, yes, you get depth charge airstrikes. I've not dealt with too many submarines. I've mostly been playing the Rook. I played it mostly in ranked, so I didn't really come across any submarines in that. Your defensive AA, you have it, but it's not amazing. If I'm facing tier 6 CVs, yes. If I'm facing tier 8 CVs, no, not really much at all. So this ship is good top tier, good even tier, but once you start seeing tier 8s and tier 9s, you're kind of panicking because of how weak your armor scheme is. So that's definitely, but that's, granted, that's for most ships in the game. Once they become bottom tiered, they're going to be a bit outmatched. So we did 92,000 damage. We got 4 kills, first blood, high caliber. A few set on fires. We got those 2 torpedo hits off on the enemy California with some defended ribbons. So making use of your engine boost and isolating your engagements with enemy ships so that you can get in and use the torpedoes is really great. I like referring to these torpedoes as nuclear torpedoes as you go up the line. They, if I remember correctly, they just keep hitting harder and harder, especially the ones on the St. Vincent. Our York did really well. He did over 2,000 base XP, so I did compliment him. He did a very good job. He took pressure off of us even, and amazingly still survived against California and the Sinop. Here you can see other view of the damage. Potential damage just over 500,000, and we took 23,000 damage. Not too much there. And then for credits and experience, you can see we ended with 305,000 credits and 28,498 experience and 2,383 free XP, and a good portion of Commander XP. So I'm ready to go ahead and pick up the Tier 8, which I'm trying to remember if that's the Hawk, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. So you'll probably see me do a video on that sometime soon. But overall, this line's really good, and I kind of want to get through and play up to the St. Vincent before they possibly nerf the line, because I think the St. Vincent, from what I see in other WoW's content creators' future, the ship is really OP if you use it in situations well, so I probably should go ahead and get it up to it before Wargaming considers nerfing it, because I think that it's likely that they'll nerf something about the line, because it's just pretty strong, especially the St. Vincent. So if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow, we'll do the upgrade and commander build, and I'll go more into details about the ship and just recommending how I would build the ship with maybe some possible variations. So until next time, take care.